Hi, I'm Rick DeJohnette, and today we're going to talk about the Sabian Jack DeJohnette Signature Series cymbals. You've seen these cymbals on this channel many times, but I don't think I did a video on them. After 1,000 plus videos, it's hard to remember what I did, but I searched and I couldn't find one. So I wanted to set up what I have of these, which are 3 of these originals. Now, I have owned several others, and I'll talk about that later, but I've sold them because I just never ever used them. But these 3 I actually use quite often. They sound great. So these 3 are this 18-inch crash ride. They call it a crash, but I definitely ride on it. This 20-inch cymbal that I put some rivets in, and there's 8 rivets in this cymbal. And finally, the very strange China cymbal that's 20-inch. Now, I took some notes because I didn't want to forget anything, so I'll kind of read off my notes here. So these came out in the summer of 1989 at the NAMM show. They were premiered. Anybody who went to that show would have seen these in the Sabian booth. And I think he worked with Sabian for about 2 or 3 years with Nort Hardgrove and Dan Barker to develop these. So any recordings that you would have heard DeJohnette on, probably from 1990 or maybe even 89, all the way to 94 and maybe past that when these were discontinued, you might have heard these cymbals. One of my engineer friends told me once that he worked with DeJohnette and they used to mic his cymbals from the top and the bottom. They did that. They had to reverse the phase on one of the mics, but that's what he told me. So, you know, if you listen to those, you know, the ECM recordings and some of the other ones, you'll hear that. Now, I know some of the Michael Brecker records, some of my favorite records of all time that DeJohnette played on, Tales from the Hudson is one. Those came out in the 90s, so, you know, there's some dry cymbals on there, but I think those might have been the Encore series, and these are the original ones. So these are unlathed. You can see there's no lathing at all on these. The alloy was a B20 alloy, and they were offered as the Jack DeJohnette Signature Series. Later on, the Encore Series. So there's no hammering as well. So if you scrape them, you don't really get anything. So if you're going to play them with brushes and try to do some scrapes, nothing's going to happen, okay? But it's a very interesting sound. I've always loved this ride. I use it when I play a lot of funk and even rock. It's got an amazing sounding bell, as you heard, and you'll hear when I play some more. They sound really, really dry and really, really dark. That's the way they sound. Now, they're so heavy you might not say dark, but if you crash them, not much there, okay? So let me tell you the sizes they came in that I know of, all right? I know the ride was available in an 18, so instead of crash, as it says here, it would say ride. A 20, a 21, and a 22. I've owned the 22, which was just obviously a bigger version of this, louder. I did not like it. I sold it. A 16-inch crash and an 18-inch crash. I've owned the 16. I did not like it. I sold it. I feel like this Sabian Sabor matches much better with these cymbals. That 16 was just, there was no highs at all in it. It's very dull, so I got rid of that. The crashes, the 18 here, I like this cymbal a lot. I think I might put some rivets in that someday. I also owned the hi-hats. I think they only made 14-inch hi-hats. I owned them. They were super heavy. I mean, I couldn't play really anything on them that I liked, so I sold those as well. And then China's, I've only heard the 20, which is this one. So I'm going to keep this. I like it. It's a very, very funky, strange cymbal. They also made an 18, which I've never heard. I've never seen, but apparently they made one. So if any of you out there have one, let me know if you like it. So that's all the details that I know of, and you can find some other stuff online. about these. There's not much. Like I said, they were discontinued. He's had a lot of signature cymbals over his career. Obviously an amazing musician, amazing drummer, pretty good piano player. I saw him play in New York. I think Freddie Waits was playing drums with him. Jack was playing piano. He's really fine pianist. But just one of the greatest drummers of all time. Just incredible. One of my favorite drummers. So, it's one of the reasons I got this one originally. Now, when I got it, I thought it was just crazy dry until I went to the studio. I did some recording with it. It actually sounded pretty good. Once I put the rivets in, I really, really liked it. So powerful bell. It's so much fun just to lay into this cymbal. And it really works well just kind of as a rock or funk cymbal. It's got a really powerful sound. And again, you can really lay into it. It never gets overbearing, okay? Now this China cymbal is very, very funky. It doesn't have a lot of sound. Very bell-like, almost like a practice cymbal. It just, it kind of, there's no description for it. It's just a really weird feeling cymbal, but I love it. No matter how much or how hard you hit it, it never changes volume. It's almost like a cymbal with a compressor built into it. All right? And finally, this 18 is actually really nice and versatile. Again, it never overloads. You can lay into it pretty hard. Again, no matter how hard you hit it, it doesn't build up or get any louder. So there's a lot to be said for something like that. So if you feel like bashing, these are good cymbals for that, all right? So that's pretty much it for these. I'll give you some close-ups now, briefly, with my camera, so you can see them up close. So we'll start with this 18. You see it there. They all have the same signature and logos on here. You see the unlathed, kind of earthy looking, I buried the cymbal in the backyard look. And we'll take a look at my oldest one, which is the 20. This is the first one I got. And I loved it immediately. This one does have some scratches though, because it's been gigged with a lot actually. And it was so dry that I put some rivets in it, which I end up really liking. I have two of these, one with and one without, but I don't like the one without the rivets. I've also owned the 22 version of this, which I did not like, and I sold it. Here you see this El Sabor. I've done a separate video on these Sabians. You can search for that. This is in that. This is a 16-inch crash. Not sure these are still being made. And we have the crazy sounding China. They made an 18 in this as well. And this is the weirdest China you'll ever hear, but it's actually very cool sounding. My favorite. Thought about putting rivets in it, but I've never been able to find another one. And before I do that, I'll probably get another one. I had the hi-hats, but I sold them. They were really unbearable to play, unbelievably heavy. So I'm sticking with my 13-inch regular Sabian hammered. They sound great with this. So I hope you enjoyed this video with these cymbals. You've seen them and you'll see them again in different videos. I just sometimes feel like playing different cymbals. That's why I have so many, and I'll set them up and just play for a while with them. And these are perfect cymbals to give you some different ideas.